It has been good to me this time around. Things were the other bound to change when it was found. Sugar never tasted sweeter on my lips. My heart is now intact, and I can find no risk. This is love, yeah, love. Never known true love before. Seen so many counterfeits that left me on the floor. This is love, yeah, love. All will come to go two ways. Time it cannot know the bounds, and here I don't dictate.
Well, a very good afternoon to you, and welcome to Xandermonium, the talk show that does indeed get you talking. I'm your host, Xander Gibb, and coming up on today's show, I'll be looking at some of this week's more interesting news stories with the fabulous Tony Losacco, who's covering for Ty this week. Jason, Prince Entertainment Correspondent from a London Calling TV show, drops by. And in part two, we will be talking Israel with David Weissman, Israeli correspondent, who will be giving us a lowdown on life in Israel. More to come in a mere moment. So you can interact with us during the show in the chat room at the bottom of the show page. Keep scrolling down on the page where you go to on the link to listen. Now, if it's not letting you take part, you have to join with Facebook or Twitter. You can do that with one click. They won't bother you or send you any crazy stuff, I assure you. So click on that link and join in the conversation. You can also call us on 347-884-9061. That's 347-884-9061. I got the wrong teeth in today. And you can call us or Skype us on that number. And you can call to join in the conversation, or you can start your own. We are here to talk. You can tweet us. My Twitter handle is at Xander Gibb, XanderGibb, capital X, capital G. Don't forget the all-important @ symbol. You can also tweet Tony. His Twitter handle is a FullStory2014. That's FullStory2014. Jason Prince, you can also tweet him. His Twitter handle is at JasonPrinceDJ. I will spell that for you. JasonPrincedJ. Capital J for Jason, capital P for Prince, and DJ is also in capitals. You can also tweet David Weissman, and his Twitter handle is at David Weissman3. DAVIDWEISSMAN and the number 3. I'm exhausted now. And the W is in capitals. Tweet me if you're too shy, and I will make your point for you. Oh, yes, I will. Now, there's still time to vote in our poll at XanderGibb.com. Now, this week's question is, do you toe the party line? Now, if indeed you are a member of a political party, that's what it's referring to, nothing else. Do you toe the party line, or do you question everything? You can vote now till the end of the show, and we'll give you the results at the end if I remember, because there's so much going on here today. I have a virtual green room full of people eating virtual food, which is virtually calorie-free, because it's not there. You can also give the call on that subject, towing the party line, on 347-884-9061. That's 347-884-9061 on this subject, or absolutely anything you want to get off your chest. Oh, yes, indeed. Out of breath now. So Tony Losacco is a broadcaster, libertarian, and freethinker with a common-sense approach to the issues that matter, always insisting on the full story. From the full story is Tony Losacco. Let's bring him on right now. Hi, Tony. How you doing?
good, Xander. How are you today?
I am fabulous. I am harassed. It is 100 degrees here, and I need a holiday, and I need a cocktail right away, and I also need an assistant. But apart from that, I am absolutely fine. How are you?
I'm doing okay, Xander. Thanks for having me on. It's a really important day for me today.
Absolutely. So tell us why it's a really important day for you, Tony.
Well, I'm here to endorse the candidacy of Donald Trump and give America the full story on the Trump candidacy. And when you're ready, I want to go point by point for my reasons for endorsing Donald Trump proudly for President of the United States of America so we can make our country great again.
Oh, well, we will wait for that with bated breath. Now, please don't switch off. We're going to have some fun with this, as usual. As I said, you can call us on 347-884-9061. That's 347-884-9061 to give us your opinion. So tell us, Tony, why are you endorsing Donald Trump?
Well, I did my research, Xander, and I spent an hour or two before the show to bring this endorsement point by point. My first point is Trump has often spoke, as we all know, about the treasonous attitude of the Obama government, especially when it comes to fulfilling the Iran treaty's terms and how it's going to harm our country. Am I right? He's called it like it is.
Yes, but it's go on. Embellish a little bit more.
Well, that's the first point. I mean, he's spoken about that. He has spoken to every American about the worth of being American, and that the worth of being American should be increased because we can make America great again. He's also talked about how we're a Christian nation with values and morals, and how Americans are naturally more gifted in democratic values than other nations. He's talked about it, how we are the democracy here for the world.
Right, go on.
Oh, well, there's a few more here.
Ask, is this?
Yes.
Go on.
Well, as you know, the Trump campaign has adopted a popular position which would ensure the American people a way to bring back their patriotism and remove the knife from the back of our military. And we could rebuild our military strength again, and we'd be a national player in the world again. In fact, we are in, undoubtedly, a time of economic hardship and super inflation with prices rising. And that poverty has been in our urban communities. And city life used to be filled with community and people helping one another. But it's become harder financially. And communities are beginning to break down. But more than anything, Xander, the reason I endorse Donald Trump is illegals are criminals and rapists taking away jobs. And they're the reason for this dismal economy right now. Our economy has attracted a large number of illegal immigrants from neighboring Mexico to the United States. And the illegal population has swelled.
I got to stop you there for a second, Tony. Here's the thing for me. Whilst we can agree with some of the things that Donald Trump says, we can't. How can we take him seriously with his methodology and the way that he does it?
Well, that's a very good question, because the wave of illegal immigration in this country has caused undoubtedly a great deal of economic hardship, where the illegals are becoming prosperous on welfare benefits at taxpayers' expense.
Some illegals. Let's get this in proportion, because here's the thing. I don't want us to generalize about any section of the community, because
these are Donald Trump's words.
Wait. Let me finish. when we generalize about any section of the community, we actually begin to do a disservice to people. You can't tell me that every single person that's in the country illegally is raping and pillaging and committing crime. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, now I'll get to the crux of the issue, Xander. First, I just have a simple question for you and the viewers. Is not everything I said a platform or a statement by Donald Trump and his campaign? Did it not sound like a full endorsement of Donald Trump and consistent with everything he said?
Right.
Well, Xander, now I'm going to now, with your permission, I'm going to reread to you the actual words and where they come from. They do not come from, I changed the words, okay? Now I'm going to read you the statements as appeared historically. Hitler often spoke about the treasonous attitude of the Weimar government with its policies for fulfilling the Versailles treaties to the German people. The worth of being German should be increased because Germans can be great again. Germany is a nation of values and morals more gifted than other nations. Germans are naturally more gifted than other nations in morality as well. The German people want to way back national pride and remove the knife from the army's back. Germany could rebuild its military, which has always played a major role in the country's identity. Germany was in a time of extreme economic hardship and superinflation. The extreme poverty, and it wasn't urban back then, it was farming communities caused by farming communities, was destroying community life, and it wasn't the illegals. Hitler said Jews are the criminals, vampires, and rapists taking jobs away from the German people. And he spoke about large numbers of illegal Jews coming into the country.
Right. Let me stop you then, Tony. So is your endorsement of Donald Trump real, or were you actually being ironic? Because I'm finding it hard to follow.
Well, if you want to say that I would endorse, if you want to say that I would endorse Adolf Hitler, because as I told you, I reworded every single statement Donald Trump has made. I'm sorry, that Hitler made to appeal to the German people and the reasons they supported him as Trump's. So no, I'm not endorsing Donald Trump. I'm pointing out, trying desperately to point out to the American people that word for word, this is fascism. And see, people talk about conservative values, but I looked up the definition of fascism. People don't understand the difference between communism and fascism. Fascism is a form of political behavior with a preoccupation obsessively with the government controlling things and national pride. That is what Trump is basing his campaign on. I mean, the statements that I gave in the beginning, which so alarmed you and hopefully alarmed every single one of your viewers, was not the statements of Donald Trump. They were the statements of Adolf Hitler to the German people and why the German people supported him. It changed the words slightly. There is no difference, and that's the point. There is no difference.
Here's the thing for me. Let's sorry to interrupt you. Let's just take a couple of these points. Here's the thing. Donald Trump might be an amazing businessman, but the guy has no sensibility when it comes to anything over and above business. He's a typical CEO. He doesn't seem to care about people. And one thing we want in an American president is somebody that actually cares about the people and identifies with the people. So I want to just first of all I want to home in on one particular part of his platform, which is his ideology on immigration. Now, we've had a big problem with immigration in this country for many years because a broken system operates. There are many people that we should be welcoming with open arms as American citizens, because they'll not only enrich the country, but they'll enrich our economy and they'll make our country a better place. Now, let's not forget, we were built on immigration. America was built on immigration. So what Donald Trump wants to do, and I'm obviously paraphrasing, he wants to round everybody up, send them back to where they came from. Those that were born in this country to illegal immigrant parents, he wants to do that too. Now, let's not forget that Donald Trump, who has commented this week about anchor babies, he wants to look at his own house first because he has 3 or 4 of them. He has married people from other countries. Maybe they weren't illegal, but he has anchor babies himself.
And Xander, let's take that one part of his platform that you pointed out for now, because I think you're right. Maybe it was hard for people to follow, and I should have done it in a different way.
Yeah, because people in the chat room were saying, is he serious? What's going on? Does he need sectioning or, you know?
But let's take the one thing as an example. In Germany in the 1930s, the economy there was blamed. What happened was there was massive waves of Jewish immigration, and yes, I concede the Jews were generally bankers. That was generally their profession. They were into selling goods and services and charging interest. But there was a massive influx of immigrants to Germany. Hitler turned around and said, it is this massive immigrant problem that is crashing the country, and guess what his original solution was? Deportation. And he described them. The rapist quote I didn't change. He described the Jews as rapists and vampires. Trump is saying the illegals are rapists and murderers. You have a direct comparison. Those who do not remember history are doomed to repeat it. That's the quote I'd like to remind everyone of.
For sure.
And this is a repeat.
You're absolutely right, it is. And the only difference with Hitler is Hitler didn't deport the Jews. Hitler rounded them all up into internment camps and gassed them. He nearly practically eradicated a whole race of people.
But see, people forget, Hitler didn't start by that. That was the final solution. He started first by identifying them, by marking them, and originally he was one of the first supporters of Zionism to get them out of the country and deport them to another land. That was his whole thing, get the illegals out. And see, that's how it starts.
You do know that Hitler's mother was a Jew, don't you?
Yes. Yes.
So in the Jewish religion, if your mother is Jewish, then you are Jewish too. So what does that say about Hitler when he was eradicating his own people? You know, whether he chose to accept it or not. But the Torah teaches that if your mother is Jewish, then you're a Jew, whether you accept that or not.
And look at the anchor babies. It's the same thing. Trump's saying send the anchor babies back. It's that same appeal. Oh, well, they're not American, even if they worked here for years and they have a job and they're contributing because their parents weren't American. It's that same mentality. And let me point out something, because I've gotten a lot of flack for comparing Donald Trump to Hitler on Facebook. People are angry at me. I am the last.
Frankly, Hitler has better hair.
People are angry because I always rail on people. I've railed on people on your show for making extreme comparisons before, apples to oranges, and invoking words like terrorism and Hitler and using them lightly. But see, that's the thing. When you call Hillary a Hitler, or this one a Hitler, or Bernie Sanders a Hitler, or Obama a Hitler, you're using the term lightly and it's stupidity. But when there is a real historical word-for-word comparison where I can take Donald Trump's words, Hitler's words, and just put the name Trump in front of them, that's a problem. That's not exaggerating. When I can take Hitler's very words and say Trump's name on it, that's not an exaggeration. That's the truth.
Now, our guest is patiently waiting to be brought on, so I'm going to bring them on. But I hope if we have time, we'll come back to this, because it's very important, as you said, and if people take anything from what you said, I think it's your quote about, you know, again, I'm paraphrasing, but those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. But here we are again. What? Sorry?
Oh, nothing. Go ahead, Xander.
Hello? No, I
Yes,
was just
can you hear
saying. Yes, I can. The point that I'm making is that people should definitely take that from what you said, but I think we have to talk about this more. In a few weeks, we're gonna have a whole show. Look at all of the candidates, and I hope you're going to join us for that, because I think that you will have some great impetus on that. But to be honest, it was hard to tell whether you're being ironic to begin with or not. But I'm actually glad you was. Let's bring on our guest, Tony. Our first guest today is Jason Prince, a man that wears many hats, like myself. Singer, songwriter, music producer, DJ, and TV presenter. Now, Jason is the entertainment correspondent for the TV show London Calling, which will be included in Series 2 of my TV show, Xandermonium. His remixes leave me wanting to fly him over and get him to work on my next album. Well, I can dream, can't I? So please join me in welcoming for the very first time a Xandermonium virgin, if you will, the one, the only, Mr. Jason Prince. Hey, Jason, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Xander.
How are you?
At last, I speak to my American counterpart.
Absolutely. So how is sunny London today?
Well, it's wonderful, apart from I'm the most technophobe person in the world. And when I have to do all this on a computer, you wouldn't believe the dramas I've had today, because I get so nervous on computers. It's so silly, isn't it? But I'm not really part of the internet generation.
But I thought you did remixes and stuff in the studio for people. Doesn't that involve technology and knobs and bells and whistles and everything else?
It certainly does, but I come from the old school world of music, when it was really about music. When I made my first ever recordings, it was on big quarter-inch reels, and we used to have 24-track and 32-track recordings, and everything was played live. And in my head, it's still like that. And as time's gone on with technology, to be quite honest, I've done quite well for someone that is a bit of a technophobe, but I do always work with an engineer. And my talent is in music production, but not really in engineering, to be fair. So,
absolutely. And I think that a lot of people think that production is about being able to move the knobs and stuff like that. I'm not so up on that side of it, but I've gone into the studio with people and kind of done production from the point of view of saying, no, that's too loud. It needs a bit more bass. It needs this. It needs that. So I'm more kind of like an audio production person rather than the one that sits and twiddles the knobs.
So you're probably the same as me, Xander, that you're probably a visionary and you see the whole picture. I see the whole picture, and I know what I want it to sound like. I know what I want people to sound like. I know what the whole song should be like, but I've not necessarily got the technical know-how to put that into place on computers. However, a lot of people do, and I gel very well with people that are very technically minded, and luckily I usually compliment the side of their creativity they don't have. We usually complement each other with someone that is quite technical, so I tend to find that works in partnerships with me.
Absolutely. So, as I alluded to in the preamble to bringing you on, that like myself, you're a bit of a pie fingerer. Now, one of the main reasons we've got you on today, although I've been trying to get you on for a long time to talk about other stuff, you're the entertainment correspondent on a TV show that we're both kind of involved with called London Calling. Now, I've seen some of the stuff from the show already, and I'm kind of like really excited. Tell us about your role in the show.
Well, basically, I've been extremely lucky because I've been very good friends with Jeff Christian for a lot of years. And Jeff is one of my long-term friends and business associates. And years ago, when I was signed to Simon Napier Bell and doing music with BMG Music, Jeff was actually my PR agent. And we really, really gelled during that period of time, and we've stayed in touch ever since. And in more recent years, as well as my singing and my entertainment, I've also gone into a little bit of journalism. And I've been writing a column for a London magazine. And Jeff has been a little bit of a fan of my journalism and wondered if I could take it from the pages of a magazine into moving pictures. And for the first time, he's really given me the opportunity to interview people and be entertainment correspondent for a new fun program. So I'm really chuffed, to be quite honest, Xander.
Absolutely. So I saw some stuff. I was editing last week, and I saw one of your first interviews, which was fabulous. And I'm really envious of the person you got to interview, because I've been a fan of hers for years. Tell us a little bit about that, and who she was and what it was like meeting her.
Well, I'm very, very lucky. On my first ever weekend, I had a whole weekend of interviewing people, and we interviewed quite a lot of people. And I didn't have any favourites because they were all friends of mine and people I've worked with over the years. But June Brown has a particular place in my heart and in the heart of England's nation in general. She really is a national treasure. She's one of the main stars in our biggest soap opera here in the UK called EastEnders. But her career spans for decades in film and stage and television. And EastEnders is probably her most commercial success. However, she has had a long-running career for the whole of my life, and it was just an absolute honour to be able to sit there and chat with someone that's been such an inspiration to myself and other people in the arts in this country. June Brown, MBE by the Queen, and what an intelligent and amazing lady to chat to.
Absolutely. I'm so envious you got to talk to her. But for those of you American listeners in the United States, June is featured quite heavily right now in a British TV show called EastEnders on channel LIWI 21, which is on Wednesdays. I know because I don't get it on my cable, so I get my sister to record it for me so I can go and watch it. So although it's vintage EastEnders for the Brits, it's kind of, for me, it's stuff I'm getting to see after I left, that was aired after I left London. And June plays a character in this TV show EastEnders called Dot Cotton, and Dot Cotton is an institution in herself, wouldn't you say, Jason?
I think the whole of the UK is just in love with Dot, in love with June. I mean, she probably is one of our only actresses that has become hugely famous just for a soap opera mainly, that people actually do know her real name. I mean, a lot of people do call her Dot down the street. She stops continuously, but actually most people know it's our very own June Brown. They feel like they know her personally. When I did the interview with her last weekend, I went and picked her up from outside of Radio 2, which is our second largest radio station here on the BBC in the UK. And she just done an hour-long interview with Fern Britton, who's one of our top radio presenters. And just outside of the radio station, obviously there was paparazzi, but there was a whole horde of fans waiting for her to come out. And she speaks to each person separately and takes the time to really take interest in everybody that takes interest in her. She's just an absolutely wonderful person to be around.
I absolutely adore June. Go on, Tony.
So for the benefit of American listeners like me, what American celebrity do you think you would compare her to, just so that we have some sort of comparison to like an American celebrity or personality?
This would be interesting. I would say along the lines of one of the Golden Girls. Yeah?
I knew you were going to say that.
An older lady that is in the heart of the nations, that have made people laugh and made people cry. And I would say the nearest thing.
Hello, did we lose you?
Hello?
Are you there, Jason?
Can you hear me, Xander?
Jason, I can hear you, Xander, but I think Jason's call dropped, so hopefully he's going to call in. But what he was actually trying to say is that the nearest person that we would compare June Brown to is probably Estelle Getty. But she's much more fruity than Estelle Getty was, and the character she plays is very religious. But off stage she's done like photo spreads. She's an older lady. She's probably in her 70s, but she's done like photo spreads and leather biker gear and stuff like that. So she's like a very fun person. I think we're having problems with the audio because the chat room is having problems too. I have to apologize because Blog Talk is getting really bad. Can you still hear me, Tony?
Yes, I can.
I don't know what is going on with this, but I will be having severe words with Blog Talk. I'm just wondering if if Jason is gonna call back because the call was dropped. I don't know. I am getting so sick of this radio station. I'm just hoping he's going to call back to talk to us. But just to, he's back. Here we are. Hey, Jason,
Xander,
sorry, I don't know what happened, but
I don't know what happened. The computer crashed halfway through.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, my goodness, I'm so embarrassed, but I told you how I am with technology. There's some kind of electric vibe in me that just crashes computers.
Don't worry about it.
My ex-music partner, James Herr, at the Sharp Boys studio, I worked at the Sharp Boys studio for 2 years, and he wouldn't actually let me touch the computer when we was making our productions, because every time I touched it, it would crash. Now, you tell me why that is, okay? I bet June Brown doesn't have to go through this.
I bet she doesn't, and I don't know whether it was just a problem your end, but this server that we use is notoriously unreliable, and we're going to move to something else. But I was just telling the listeners while you were gone that I would probably liken June Brown to an Estelle Getty, but June Brown is much more kind of, I would say she was a bit more fruity. I mean, I remember in the 90s when she was doing photo shoots dressed head to toe in leather, and she was like, an older lady, what you would call a senior, but she's not your typical older lady, is she?
She actually starred in a theatre show here in the UK called Calendar Girls, and she actually had to be naked on stage, and she did a photo shoot, and it was with other sort of A-list television celebrities of a certain age. And I thought she was very brave to do it, and it was really, really wonderful. And it just, she's just got that human touch, June. And I think everybody can relate to her on every level, really. And, I'm just very, very lucky to have had that afternoon with her. Actually, it was a morning, first thing in the morning. I was very lucky to have a morning with her.
I'm going to try and persuade the channel that shows EastEnders to get her over, and then maybe we can do something in conjunction with Xandermonium and London Calling, and like a whole EastEnders thing. But that's just another pie I'm trying to finger. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for that. So tell us, Jason, what kind of guests can we expect to see on London Calling, and can you name names?
Well, I've really crossed the board section of entertainment, and I've been very lucky in my career for 2 decades, really, to have a very diverse career and work with lots of personalities from every walk of life in entertainment. So I'm interviewing top DJs, actors, reality TV stars, singers. I really have the cross-section, and I'm really pleased with the people that have said yes to being interviewed. My first interview for the show was with the legendary DJ producer Wayne G, and he's had hits with every big diva from Cher to Madonna to Kylie. He really is at the top of his game with remixing and producing and DJing, and he flies around the world just doing his thing, and he's been a friend of mine for quite a few years, and I was so pleased when he agreed to do the interview. We also have one of our top reality TV stars. 10 years ago, he was probably the nation's favourite ever Big Brother winner, Pete Bennett. And the nation fell in love with him because he actually has acute Tourette's, which we might find difficult in the actual editing stage, as you're not allowed to swear at all on American Air. So I think it might be lots of bleeps and whistles in the interview with our lovely Pete. And we've also got some of the big house divas, Tina Cousins, Catherine Ellis. These singers have literally had hits both sides of the pond. And that's why I was interested in talking to them. You know, they've been featured artists on DJ records both here and in the US Billboard chart. So I was very pleased for them to say yes to being on the show.
Fabulous. So, Jason, let me ask you, what do you think makes a good interview?
What makes a good interview? Well, for a start, it's good if the artist has been researched properly, so you know a little bit more about them than just meets the eye. I mean, I was very lucky with the team on London Calling that they gave me a lot of info that was over and above what I maybe knew about the person to really, you know, ask a few questions that were slightly against the grain that people don't already know about them. And I was actually asking because I was interested. I didn't already know the answers. So I think that's the key to a good interview as well, is ask questions that you're interested in yourself to actually hear the answers.
Absolutely. So I kind of talked a little bit earlier about you being a producer, and I wasn't just kissing ass, you know, saying that I would like to work with you one day, because even before we worked together on London Calling / Xandermonium, I've expressed this to you. Now, I know you've done a particular project recently called Club Kids. Tell us about that.
Basically, 10 years ago, I was living in Sri Lanka. And, in fact, I was there during the first big Asian tsunami, which was devastating. And I stayed for 2 weeks after the tsunami, and then I travelled home. It was absolutely devastating to where I lived. When I came home, I was wanting to reinvent myself because I wasn't really planning on coming back to the UK. And to be honest, I had an image more as a cabaret singer. And that is what I was most well known for. But my talents went over and above that, and really I wanted to be more productive and creative in the studio. So I came up with a pseudonym. And I've always loved the culture of the New York Club Kids. And I love the movie with Macaulay Culkin, and I know characters that were actually involved in that time in New York culture as well. And I've always found it fascinating. And I thought, if I'm going to do something as a producer or a DJ, if I say I'm Jason Prince, people might not take it seriously until I've established myself. So I came up with a pseudonym, Kids. And we did a string of club nights and parties called Club Kids. And we did a string of singles and albums that said produced by Club Kids. And that's really how it all began 10 years ago.
Now, we talked last week about the fabulous Cilla Black. In fact, we dedicated the show to her with her passing recently. You worked with Cilla Black, too, didn't you?
Yes, I was. I'm very, very proud. I'm very proud. We actually, when Cilla Black did her ultimate greatest hits, we was asked to do a bonus track on the album, and as probably the biggest pop DJs on the London gay scene at the time, and I think that she was looking for a real gay song to please her gay fans. And we did a song called Beautiful Goodbye, and it was Cilla's first album that was available to download rather than just on vinyl or CD. In fact, our song was downloaded so many times that it put Cilla's album into the top 20, and it was her first top 20 in quite a few years. So Cilla was very, very pleased with us, and I got invited on a lot of TV shows backstage, and she was an absolute pleasure to be around. And yeah, the whole nation, same as with June, Cilla was a national treasure. And yeah, it's been devastating to lose her. It really has.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was, you know, I lived in the UK in the 80s and early 90s, so she was in my living room every week with TV shows like Surprise, Surprise, and Blind Date and stuff like that. But she was just very kind of, I never met her, sadly, but I know people that did, and she was good friends with Paul O'Grady. She was just a very down-to-earth person, I got the impression.
I think that she was in the heart of the nation as well because, of course, the big time in music that really, really showed UK music up was, of course, when the Beatles hit in the 60s. And Cilla was so part of that, being part of the whole time when they was at the Cavern. And I think she even dated one of the Beatles. And she had some of her hits written by Lennon and McCartney. So she's so in the heart of the nations because we're so proud of how well the Beatles did. And she's never forgotten her Liverpool roots. She was from a town called Liverpool up north in England, and she really never forgot her roots, and she was always very proud to have been part of that working class northern background, and she never forgot it, and she had that human touch, the same as June does, and the whole nation just loved her.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, she will be missed. She was an enormous star in the UK, and she barely kind of touched America. And I never understood why that was because, her hits were just amazing. Her hits were very classic, and I never understand why some artists kind of make it big in America and others, they just don't, they just don't get it.
That is true. Mm-hmm.
Funnily enough, guys, I was watching a documentary about it, actually, and Burt Bacharach even wrote songs for Cilla. But at the time, they used to get an American artist to record a song, and then when they released it in the UK, they'd get a UK artist to record the same song. So some of Cilla's hits were even big hits in the US for, like, Dionne Warwick with the same song.
Right.
So Dionne Warwick would have a number one in the US, and Cilla would have a number one in the UK, and I think that was just how the record industry was set up at the time.
Absolutely.
So what do you
think?
Oh, go ahead, Xander. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Tony.
I was just going to ask, why do you think that is, especially, I don't know if it's different in the UK or America, but why is it that some artists that are very, very talented, or you hear an unknown artist, they never make it despite having the agents and doing all the right things, and others just really, it seems like they have no talent and they're superstars overnight? What do you think the reason for that is?
I mean, without talking about the show of the same name, it's just that little thing called the X Factor, and no one can really put any rhyme or reason on it. And, obviously the US market and the UK market are very different, and some people cross over to both and become huge stars in both. But if you can touch people's emotion, and if you can touch their emotion through the media, which is very hard to touch people through the medium of television or CD or whatever the medium is.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, it's extremely difficult to do that. And there's only a select few in the whole world that can really touch people. If you touch people's emotions, that's it, isn't it? If you can touch the nation's emotions.
Absolutely.
And some people do manage to do that through the medium of media.
Absolutely. I'm really wishing someone would touch me right now. Well, listen, Jason, we're coming to the end of our time together, but what I want to do with you, if you're up for a bit of a giggle, I want to just do some quick-fire questions with you. So the idea is that I ask you some questions, and you tell me the first thing that comes into your head, whatever that might be.
Okay, no long answers.
Absolutely. And don't worry, we won't be asking your age or weight or sexual preferences or anything like that. All right, first question. What question do you most hate to be asked?
How old am I?
All right, next question. How old are you? No, just joking. All right,
41.
Who is your idol? Your what?
Madonna.
Favorite TV show?
Say that again?
Favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show? Oh, there's a Nighty Night dark comedy over in this country. You don't have it. It's fantastic.
No, you failed there, dude. You're supposed to say London Calling or Xandermonium, so you lose points there. What is your greatest fear?
Heights.
Me too. Do you believe in aliens as in the extraterrestrial kind?
What alien?
The extraterrestrial kind.
What am I find of extraterrestrial type?
No, do you believe in aliens?
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. We can't be the only ones here, no way.
Absolutely. Worst movie you ever saw, and don't say anything I was ever in.
Well, we were talking about the Human Centipede today because my friend met the star of it, and he said, "What did you play in the Human Centipede?" And I played the head.
That looked great on the resume. All right, Walking Dead or Breaking Bad?
Say that again.
Walking Dead or Breaking Bad?
Breaking Bad.
Rice or pasta?
Say that one more time. So sorry, Xander.
Rice or pasta? Sorry, the audio is really bad.
Oh, pasta every time.
All right, you find 50 pounds in church. Do you A, keep it, B, give it to the homeless guy outside, or C, do you give it to the minister?
Crikey. You give 50 pounds to a homeless guy or the minister. Homeless guy.
Or you could keep it yourself. 3 choices.
No. I believe in karma.
All right. Favorite animal?
Dog.
Paper or plastic?
Plastic.
Which 3 celebs, living or dead, would you invite to dinner, and what would you serve?
I've done one of these sort of things for a magazine before. I would like my dear friend who passed away, Viola Wills. I wish she was still with me. Just loved her so much. Madonna, just because I just have to have Madonna there. And I guess as a true queen, it would have to be Kylie as well. And that's terrible enough, isn't it?
No, not at all. What would you serve?
What would I?
What food would you serve?
What food would I pick? Oh, something spicy.
Right. Okay, so I can tell you're a Madonna fan.
I'm vegetarian for Madonna.
Right. All right, so talking of Madonna and Gaga are drowning. Whose head do you take your foot off first?
Oh, Madonna. I want Madonna to live any time. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Quelle surprise. All right. Which celebrity could you willingly slap?
Oh, my God, I don't know. I don't dislike people. How difficult is this? Okay, I'm going to have to think of this one hard. I'm so sorry.
You can just say me, because that's what most people say when they come on the show. Xander, I want to slap you. There's a line for me.
Slap you. Yeah, it means I have to come to New York.
You would, and it would have to be on the ass. But moving swiftly on, last question. Favorite TV Muppet?
Favorite TV Muppet? Miss Piggy.
Yeah. Miss Piggy. Fabulous.
Miss
and that
Piggy.
was the last in our quick-fire questions. We have a team of psychiatrists backstage working out what the answers mean, and we will be sending them to the National Health Service right after we are done with the show.
I don't think it's funny in the National Health Service to cope with those answers.
No, I don't think they could either. So listen, Jason, tell people where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, they can find me on Twitter. I've just joined Twitter because obviously being a technophobe, I'm a bit behind everybody else. But it's Jason Prince DJ. And obviously I've got my website, clubkids, klubkidz.co.uk. And on Facebook, I'm Jason Prince, and on DJ Jason Prince. It's so easy to find me. Look me up and say hi.
Absolutely, and if you look on the radio page, the show page for today on XanderGibb.com, all of Jason's details are on there, including his phone number and his favorite kind of chocolate. So listen, Jason, thank you so much for joining us today. It really has been a pleasure talking to you. I hope you come back again and share some of your music stuff with us in the future. But for now, thank you so much, Jason Prince.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Jason.
See you guys.
Bye-bye. That was indeed the fabulous Jason Prince. Make sure you check him out on Facebook and Twitter. Go follow him right now and tell him that Xander sent you.
Here to be like safe.
Sorry?
Can you hear me, Xander?
I can. What did you say? It just was. Yes, it was just a bit mumbly.
I'm sorry. I thought that was the end of the show. I was saying thanks for having me.
No, we're just getting to that point now. We're just going to go into our next interview, which I know you're not joining us for. But thanks so much for co-hosting today. Tony will be back very soon. Make sure you follow Tony on Facebook and Twitter. Tell them your Twitter and Facebook details, Tony.
You can find me on The Full Story on Twitter, if I'm ever on my Twitter, which I will be on one day. On Facebook, you can just look me up on The Full Story, and I will be following up with what I said on the show. I'm going to have a side-by-side comparison of candidate Trump and historical candidate Hitler and the things that they said. So if you're interested in the specifics, please go to my Facebook page on The Full Story, and I will have all that information for you.
Absolutely. And in future, Tony, you're going to have to tell us a little bit more about when you're being ironic, because, to be honest, it took me 10 minutes to realize that was the case.
I am so sorry, Xander. I thought I'd let you know, but I guess I'm sorry. I should have been more clear.
The chat room is saying, is he serious? Is he joking? What is this all about? And I knew it would unfold into something because I know it always does with you, but I thought, is he really endorsing Trump? But no, clearly you weren't. But make sure you check Tony's Facebook and Twitter page to get some more information about his ideas of Trump.
Actually, Xander, may I say one more thing really quick?
You can indeed.
Okay. That's what's so scary about it. Everybody thought I was being legitimate because it sounds good and it sounds legitimate. Just imagine how I was convincing people that I was a Trump guy, because these are the same statements, and that's what makes it so scary.
Absolutely. Totally scary. But listen, Tony, we'll talk a bit more about politics next time you're on, but thanks for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you, Xander.
Thanks a lot, Tony. That was fabulous. Tony Losacco. Make sure you follow him on Facebook and Twitter and tell him that Xander sent you. So don't forget to check out my book. It's my first novel, actually. It's called The Boy from Beyond the Ice House, and it's a story based loosely on my own life of growing up mixed up in a mixed up world. You can check that at Amazon, and as I said, it's called The Boy from Beyond the Ice House, so make sure you go and check that out. We're just waiting for our next guest to call in, David Weissman, our new Israeli correspondent, who's going to tell us all about life in Israel when he gets here. So our guest is in the virtual green room right now. David Weissman is an American Jew living in Israel. He's a writer and concentrates on Israeli issues and has first-hand experience of Israel. Please join me in welcoming to Xandermonium for the first time, David Weissman. Welcome to the show, David. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fabulous. So here in the West, we kind of get a distorted view of exactly what's going on over in Israel, in the conflict between Israel and Palestine. What would you say the biggest misconception is regarding the conflict?
Well, the biggest misconception is that people think that we are at war with all Arabs, and that's actually not the case. Our main enemy is Hamas and Hezbollah up in north. They are jihad extremists, but we are very treat all Arabs equally like we treat fellow Israelis. We're not at war with the Arabs, and I think that's what people are maybe misunderstanding of what goes on here in Israel.
So let's you mentioned Hamas. Let's talk a little bit about Hamas, because the ideology is that Hamas were a democratically elected party. Now, I wonder if they are Hamas as they are now. Are they in the same form as they were when they were originally elected, or has something shifted?
They were in the same form as they were originally elected. They have always been a terrorist organization. They've always used political propaganda against Israel. Nothing has changed with Hamas.
Right. So why do you think people voted for them if they knew that they were a terrorist organization? Because I'm learning today, because I always thought that they were in a different form when they were originally elected. But if they were elected and people knew they were a terrorist organization, where is the logic in electing a terrorist organization to run your country?
Well, it can be many reasons. It can be because of fear. They threaten to murder their families and they vote for the same people in office. It can also be due to the fact that they brainwashed children at a very young age. That's all I know is hatred for Israel and hatred for the Jewish people. So that's something that's been taught to children at a very, very young age. And it's something that's pretty much all I know. So that's why they would easily believe that Hamas is good, because that's what they've been taught growing up.
Absolutely, and I think their propaganda machine works really well because people outside of Israel, people away from the conflict, actually see the Palestinians as victims when the clear evidence suggests that they're actually the aggressors, because when Israel has responded with fire, it has been to defend themselves. Am I right in that assumption?
You're absolutely correct. You're 100% correct on that. That's the only time we respond is when they send rockets over to in Israel.
Great. So here's the dichotomy for me. Living in America, most people here and in Europe to an extent, they seem to measure what's right and what's wrong about this conflict by the amount of dead kids, by the amount of children killed in the conflict. This is clearly not a good measure of who is right and who is wrong in this situation, is it?
Actually, with the conflict, during the war, Israel has tried its best to try to actually help save the children in Gaza. They tried pulling them out of there, letting the families know, hey, we're going to be coming in, trying to do what we can to get the families out of there. But again, you have Hamas that actually has prevented that from happening.
Right.
And it's very hard because Hamas disguises themselves so well. It's hard to tell who's Hamas and who's not, and that's why the people have the misconception of what, thinking that Israel is the bad guys, which in cases, they're not. And
obviously that's a concern. I mean, obviously, as a journalist, as a talk show host, I try and be impartial as possible, but I obviously, because of my family leanings and my background, I am supportive of Israel, but I would be the first one to criticize them if I felt that criticism was necessary. Now, do you think everybody is sick of the conflict? Both Israelis and Palestinians. Do you think everyone's sick of what is going on?
Yes. I'm sorry, can you repeat that question again? The last question.
Do you think everybody is sick of what's going on, both the Palestinians and the Israelis? Right. Because
this
is not the Palestinian people, is it? I know that it's them that are involved, but it's actually the leadership that are fueling this conflict, the Palestinian leadership that are actually fueling this conflict further. Because let's face it, two sides, you can't have a ceasefire if one side doesn't stop firing, because that's ridiculous. A ceasefire means both sides or all sides in any conflict have to stop any kind of aggression. So that's not going to happen if both sides don't adhere to the ceasefire.
That is totally correct. In the ceasefire, Hamas has broken the ceasefire numerous times since the ceasefires began. Right.
So do you actually feel unsafe living there? Because I have friends and family that live there, and they're like, when it goes on, it does happen, and we have to be careful and do certain things. But most of the people that I know that live there don't feel necessarily unsafe. What about you?
No, I feel pretty safe. I mean, you gotta be alert at all times. You gotta be careful. Where your surroundings and know what goes on around you. But I feel pretty safe. Where I live in Efrat, they have security. Making sure that people are safe here. So it is very well safe. Just gotta keep her situational awareness at all times.
Right. Now there is a kind of ideology perpetrated by the media that all Jews hate all Muslims, and clearly that's not the case, is it?
No, it's not the case. That is definitely false.
And clearly this is something perpetuated by the media. Don't you think that this is an unwise way to report this kind of thing?
Yes, it's very unwise. It seems like the media just wants to stir up trouble, and especially against Israel. But yeah, it's not the case. Many Jews and Arabs are friends, and I'm friends with some Arabs as well. And a lot of them are very good people, and the media, I guess, possibly trying to make extra money by stirring up this kind of rhetoric. But yeah, it's definitely not the case.
So let's talk about Bibi. Let's talk about Benjamin Netanyahu. To the chagrin of lots of people in America and Europe, he was voted as the president once again. Now I hold Mr. Netanyahu in high esteem. How do you think the people of Israel feel about Netanyahu?
For the most part, Israel definitely supports the Prime Minister. In many ways, Israel is like America. You have many Jews with many different opinions. You have your right wing and your left wing. But majority, obviously with the elections, support Netanyahu, care about the security of the country. And, no matter who the Prime Minister is, normally the country will support him or her.
Right. Now, Israel has been an ally to the United States for such a long time, but unfortunately, the current leadership in the United States, Barack Obama and his administration, seem to have forgotten that aspect that Israel has been our ally for so long. Now, obviously, you're aware of the fact that he's been brokering this deal since 2011 to give nuclear components to Iran, who have threatened on a number of occasions to attack both Israel and America with nuclear weapons. Where is the sense in this agreement, David?
There is none. I'm worrying what's going on with that administration. I mean, even to this day, the Ayatollah still considers America as an enemy, and the Ayatollah of Iran made that very clear. They still call for destruction for both America and Israel, and it makes me wonder what's the motives of this administration.
Absolutely, and what in your opinion is behind Obama's clear lack of care for both America and Israel in brokering this deal?
I think he has a hidden agenda that's not being shown to light yet. I agree with Bibi. Use the same deal that we have right now, the same sanctions. Why give an enemy more power, more components to actually follow through with their mission? There's something going on in there, and behind closed doors that the public doesn't know.
Absolutely, it's lunacy, and what is even more lunatic is allowing them to, they're talking about allowing them to police themselves. It's like, would you give a fool a gun? If someone threatens to kill your wife, would you say, I just bought you a gun, but I'm trusting that you won't kill my wife? How ridiculous is it that any world leader would give weapon components to our combatants?
I don't understand it. I really don't. That's why it's really questionable. What are they doing? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Absolutely. We're coming to the end of our time together, but one thing I really want to get to the bottom of, David, is what is the real issue here with regards to Israel and Palestine? People think it's simply about land, but you and I both know that the Palestinians that are there are not, even though a lot of them were born there, they're not originally Palestinians because they were shipped in from elsewhere. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that not the right case?
No, you're absolutely correct. In fact, I actually did an article on that, about the history of Israel. There's always been a Jewish presence in Israel for over 5,000 years. And right. Arabs have come from many different regions, and they happen to come over to Israel and went from there. But yeah, Israel has always been Jewish. That's the way it always was, and but yes, you're totally right about that.
So, what do you think that there is a simple answer to all of this? Because if the ideology is that this is just about land, but it goes deeper for me. One of the questions that people ask a lot is, what right do the Jews have to be there? And my first response to that is, have a look in the Bible. God gave this land to the Jews, and if you're questioning their right to be there, then frankly you're questioning God. Would you agree with that?
I totally agree. To us as a people, the Bible, yes, is a story that came down from God. It's not just a religious book. It's also our written history of where we came from as a nation. So the Torah, the Bible, has so much more meaning than to our people that people realize.
Absolutely. So a final thought. Do you think there is a simple answer to this conflict that doesn't involve the Jews leaving Israel?
Well, I do believe so. The first thing is to get rid of Hamas and Hezbollah. When you get rid of the extreme terrorists out of the country, then we could have a dialogue with the people, between our people. Absolutely.
Well, listen, David, thank you so much for joining us today on Xandermonium. And tell people where they can find you on social media.
Sure. I have a Facebook account, David Weissman. Also on Twitter, at David Weissman, Weissman 3. And then you can look up. Thank you.
I'll make sure you check out David's articles and check his links on social media, and we will share them also after the show. But for today, thank you so much for joining us, David Weissman, live from Israel. Thanks a lot, David.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
You're so welcome. That was David Weissman reporting to us from Israel. We are a bit over time now. We've overrun the show, but thank you to everyone who's made today's show possible. Thanks to Tony Losacco for co-hosting. Thanks to Jason Prince from London Calling TV show for joining us. Thanks again to David Weissman for corresponding on the subject of Israel. And most of all, thanks to you for listening, and thank you for your continued support. Have a fabulous week, and make sure you join us again next time on Xandermonium. Thanks a lot. I love you all. Bye-bye.